Ladies and gentlemen, 25-time Grammy winner, Stevie Wonder.
He is considered one of the greatest musicians of all time.
And the winner is... And the winner is... And the winner is... Stevie Wonder! Stevie Wonder! Stevie Wonder for Innovation!
From the streets of Detroit, he rose to become one of the most prolific singers and songwriters in popular music. Signed to Motown Records at just 11 years of age, he had his first #1 album at the age of 12. With over 100 million records sold, 101 singles, 23 studio albums, 10 songs peaking at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and a total of 25 Grammy Awards, including the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2014. He holds the record for the most Grammy Awards won by a solo male artist. He is a prolific singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist who revolutionized the sound of soul, funk, and R&B music. But that's not all there is to his story. Stevland Hardaway Judkins was born 6 weeks premature and placed in an oxygen-heavy incubator, which is believed to have contributed to his eye disorder, retinopathy of prematurity, a condition caused by abnormal blood vessel growth in the retina, causing his blindness shortly after birth. Despite his blindness, he became a child prodigy, showing an early gift for music, singing in the Whitestone Baptist Church Choir and learning to play the piano, harmonica, and drums. On August 6, 1973, just days after releasing his album Inner Visions, Stevie Wonder was severely injured in a car accident in North Carolina. The car he was in, driven by his cousin, hit the back of a truck. He suffered a severe concussion and his life was in danger for a period of time. It would take Stevie an entire year to recover from the concussion and go back to making music. His use of synthesizers and other electronic musical instruments during the 1970s reshaped the sound of contemporary R&B. He also helped push R&B into the album era, crafting his albums as cohesive and consistent, in addition to adding socially conscious statements with complex compositions. Wonder is known for his versatility, playing multiple instruments and virtually operating as a one-man band, especially during his peak years. His use of synthesizers and electronic instruments in the 1970s expanded the sound of R&B, making him a pioneer in the genre. This is the story of how a boy, blind from birth, would go on to become one of the most influential figures in popular music. Lola Mae Hardaway was born in Eufaula, Alabama on January 11, 1930, the daughter of a sharecropper, Noble Hardaway. She grew up in extreme hardship and poverty, often toiling in the sun with her father, who was a farmer. Things got so bad, her father couldn't feed and cater to the needs of all his children, and as a result of this, Lola Mae had to stay with relatives, constantly moving from one relative to the other after a period of time. She eventually settled at Saginaw, Michigan, where she met and fell in love with Calvin Judkins, a man much older than her. On a warm spring day on May 13, 1950, while pregnant with her third child, she started having labor pains, but her pregnancy wasn't up to its full term yet. Worried, her husband Calvin Judkins took her to the St. Mary's Hospital in Saginaw, Michigan. She would go into premature labor and give birth to a boy 6 weeks earlier than her expected day of delivery. Seeing that the boy was 6 weeks premature, the doctors had to put him in an incubator. Unknown to the doctors, the oxygen flowing into the incubator was too much for this infant. This will lead to an abnormal blood vessel growth in his retina. This costly error on the part of the doctors will lead to an eye disorder called retinopathy of prematurity that will in turn lead to this baby becoming blind just a few days after his birth. The handsome but non-blind baby boy was named Stevland Hardaway Morris. According to Lola Mae's autobiography, she suffered abuse at the hands of her husband, who not only beat her up when he was drunk, but also forced her into prostitution. These issues were irreconcilable and will lead to the couple getting divorced. At this time, Stevland was 4 years old. After the divorce, Lola Mae moved to Detroit with her 3 children. It was in Detroit at the Whitestone Baptist Church the young boy picked an interest in music. He started singing in the choir and became a soloist at the age of 8. From a young age, Stevland was captivated by music and sound, leading him to explore different instruments. He taught himself how to play the drums at age 3, the harmonica at 6, and the piano by age 10, demonstrating his natural talent and dedication. He would go on to form a singing partnership with a friend, calling themselves Stevie and John. They played on street corners and occasionally at parties and dances. It was at one of these parties that Stevland's talent would be discovered by Ronnie White. Ronnie White was a member of The Miracles, a vocal group signed to Motown Records and also the first successful recording act for the record label. Stevie Wonder performed one of his original compositions, Lonely Boy, to Ronnie White, who was amazed at how well this 11-year-old boy could sing and play the harmonica. Impressed by his talent, Ronnie arranged an audition with Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown Records. Stevie Wonder went for this audition with his mother, and after hearing him perform, Berry Gordy was immediately impressed and signed him to Motown's Tamla label, and also assigned music producer Clarence Paul to be his mentor. Clarence Paul, who, like Ronnie White and Berry Gordy, was also impressed with this little boy's amazing talents, gave him the stage name Little Stevie Wonder. Because of how young Little Stevie was when he was signed, the label drew up a rolling 5-year contract in which royalties will be held in trust until he turns 21. He and his mother will be paid a weekly stipend to cover their expenses. He got his first big break in May of 1963 at age 12 when he released the album Recorded Live, the 12-year-old genius. The album was recorded live while he was on tour with the Motown Revue. Fingertips, the debut single from the album, was written and composed by his mentor, Clarence Paul and Harry Cosby, and would go on to top both the Billboard Hot 100 and the R&B singles charts, while the album itself would go on to top the Billboard 200. This is the last album to use the Little in Stevie Wonder's name. Starting with his next album, he would go by the name of just Stevie Wonder. Wonder was the second and youngest solo artist to chart on the Billboard Top LPs under the age of 18. He was only 13 years old when that occurred. In 1965, at the age of 15, his voice began to change as he was getting older. This led to Motown CEO Berry Gordy worrying that Wonder might no longer be a commercially viable artist. Added to the reason for this worry was the fact that his next records after his first album weren't so successful. As it turned out, however, producer Clarence Paul found it easier to work with Wonder's now mature tenor voice. While label executives were contemplating letting Wonder go, Sylvia Moy, a songwriter and producer who was an associate of the label and who also co-wrote some of his early hit songs, convinced Berry Gordy to give him another chance. At this point, Little Stevie Wonder had dropped the little from his name and is now Stevie Wonder. The day is September 14th, 1970. It is a beautiful morning in Detroit. At the Greater Burnett Baptist Church, Reverend Dr. James Allen Caldwell is officiating the wedding ceremony between 20-year-old Stevie Wonder and 24-year-old Syreeta Wright. Wonder met Syreeta in 1968. At the time, she was working as a secretary for Mickey Stevenson, one of Motown's records producers. They started dating the following year, in 1969, and got married 1 year later. After 2 years, the couple divorced, citing irreconcilable differences as the reason for the breakup. Despite the divorce, they both continued to work together, and she was heavily influential to the next phase of his journey as an artist. The years between 1972 and 1976 were the most influential and creative period of his career and would come to be popularly known as the Stevie Wonder's classic period. Within this 5-year period, he released 5 critically acclaimed, groundbreaking albums. Wonder had previously negotiated a new contract with Motown that granted him almost total artistic control over his music and a significantly higher royalty rate, a precedent-setting deal for the label. This new contract would allow him to self-produce and record his albums outside Motown's Detroit studio. The creative freedom that came with this new deal would allow Stevie innovate and experiment with different sounds, blending multiple genres in ways no one had before that time, and would lead to the success he had within this period. In the early 1970s, a duo called Tonto's Expanding Headband caught Stevie Wonder's attention. Made up of Malcolm Cecil and Robert Margoloff, the duo was named after the Tonto synthesizer. Tonto is an acronym for the Original New Timbral Orchestra, the first and still the largest multi-timbral polyphonic analog synthesizer in the world, designed and constructed over several years by Malcolm Cecil. In June of 1971, the duo released their debut album called Zero Time. The album was a showcase for the Tonto synthesizer, as all the songs on the album were produced using sounds from the synthesizer. One day, while reading a copy of the Rolling Stone magazine, he read about the groundbreaking electronic music synth and the album Zero Time. Stevie Wonder heard this record and was blown away by the new palette of experimental sounds he was hearing. It was almost like hearing someone voice these exact thoughts in your head. He decided to find the creators of the album and went to New York City to meet them. On the Memorial Day weekend of 1971, he tracked the duo to their apartment in New York. He clicked with them instantly, and in that same weekend that they met, they ended up recording 15 to 17 songs. The huge instrument appeared on 3 songs on Music of My Mind: Superwoman, Evil, and Girl Blue. Wonder was so fascinated with the synthesizer that he brought on Margouleff and Cecil to help him produce the record. They would go on to produce 3 more records in Wonder's classic period. In 1975, Wonder became serious about quitting the music industry and emigrating to Ghana to work with handicapped children. He had expressed his anger with the way the US government was running the country. A farewell concert was being considered as the best way to bring down the curtain on his career. Wonder changed his mind and signed a new contract with Motown on August 5, 1975, thinking he was better off making the most of his career. At the time, rival labels such as Arista and Epic were also interested in him. The contract was laid out as a 7-year, 7LP, $37 million deal, and also gave Wonder full artistic control, making this the largest deal made with a recording star up to that point. Shortly after signing the contract, Wonder took a year off from music. This would be the first year since 1966 that he didn't release an album. As a perfectionist, Wonder spent long hours in the studio for almost every track he recorded. He was not eating or sleeping while everyone around him struggled to keep up. According to Wonder, if my flow is going, I keep on until I peak. Bassist Nathan Watts remembered getting home at 3 a.m. after very long hours in the studio, only to have Wonder phone to request him return immediately to help with I Wish. A total of 130 people worked on the album, but Wonder's preeminence remained evident. After the groundbreaking success of Songs in the Key of Life, Wonder had already achieved what most artists could only dream of, but he is not most artists, and he wasn't ready to stop yet. The period after his classical run would see him moving away from innovative sounds to making more commercially viable music. He would go on to release 18 more studio albums, 3 soundtrack albums, 4 live albums, and 11 compilations. In recent years, Wonder had maintained a relatively low profile in terms of album releases, but has continued to appear in live performances and collaborate with other artists. He has also been involved in charity work, activism, and political causes. Wonder has been vocal on issues related to social justice, racial equality, and environmental sustainability. In 2020, he appeared in the Global Citizen Concert and other high-profile events. Additionally, Wonder has been working on new music, including a rumored new album, although nothing definitive has been released in recent years. Stevie Wonder's career after the classic period has been marked by an ability to evolve with the times while staying true to his musical roots. He embraced new genres and technologies like synthesizers and digital production and experimented with different sounds. While his mainstream commercial presence may have diminished after the 70s, his influence on both pop and soul music, as well as his continued musical output, has cemented his place as a living legend in the industry. Thank you for watching this video. It will help my channel a lot if you hit the like button and also subscribe if you're new here.